evening, everyone, and welcome to this special Thursday rendition of Speak Your Mind with Larry Cox. And we are going to have a fantastic show this evening as we have our chair and vice chair of the Rockdale County Board of Education on the show tonight, Miss Sandra Jackson Lett and Miss Janie Jones. So I know you are going to be as excited as I am to actually hear what these two ladies have to say about their campaigns for reelection and all of the things that they have done in their tenure on the Rockdale County School Board. So I am going to not waste any time, and I am going to bring the first guest on. I will bring in Vice Chair Janie Jones. Hello, Janie. How are you doing this evening?
I am doing well.
So,
Thank
Janie,
you for having me today.
you're welcome. It's an honor to have you. Why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit, let people know a little bit of what you're up to, and then we'll bring Sandra in a second.
Okay, I'll keep it brief. I am Janie Jones. I'm currently the vice chair of the Rockdale County School Board. I am running for reelection to post two.
That is short, simple, and to the facts. And now we'll bring Sandra on and let her tell us about her. Good evening, Miss Jackson Led. How are you doing today?
Good evening, all. I'm doing just wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic, Sandra. So why don't you let people know who you are and what you're doing here this evening?
I am Sandra Jackson Lett. I'm currently your chair of the Rockdale County Public School, and I run for re-election so we can continue the work that we have started.
And and I think that says it all too. And we're gonna get into this. But first, I want to do something that I always like to do. I want to say hello to a few people that have joined us, and I want to ask you to do this. We usually don't do a show on Thursday, so I knew that we're going to put a surprise on some people with it. But if you guys would share and like the show, that'll help build a little bit more of an audience. But then also, people will watch the recording here, and we'd like to for you guys to be interactive and have a few questions. So it's always good to have audience participation when we do the show. And it is great that you guys are able to join us this evening on a short notice and the special night. So Sandra, let's start with you for a second. So I'm a transplant to Rockdale County. I moved to Georgia in 2003 for my work, and then I landed in Rockdale County in 2005. Love it here. But tell us, Sandra, how long have you been in Rockdale County?
I have been here all of my life, but my mom always tell me, Mama, stop saying you was born in Rockdale County. I was born in Walton County, but I said, Mom, but I came home to Rockdale. So I was born in Monroe Hospital, but I lived in Rockdale County. So been here all my life. In 1982, graduate of Heritage High School. All 5 of my children graduated through Rockdale County Public Schools, with the last being 2006. I was a single mom, but I read them all. I always told them they would not be a statistic and they needed to be successful in life. Tried to always make an example. We always studied around the table together. I have several degrees. I'm an RN by trade, which most people do not know. I'm a funeral home attendant. I have several little entrepreneurship jobs that I have. So just a little this and a little that. Just people always say, girl, you have too many jobs. I said, but I was a single mom and I had to make sure I did what I need to do to make sure my children were successful.
And you can't go wrong with that. Now, Janie, from what I gather, I think you've been here a little longer than I have. So how long have you been in Rockdale County, and what's a little of your background?
Yes, I've been here about 28 years. I came right after college. After deciding not to join the military, I came to Georgia to live. And I'm a seasoned educator. I've been an educator most of my life at some level. I like to give people a little bit of background. So, and as Sandra said, I do have a few degrees. I have a bachelor's in elementary education, master's elementary education, a specialist degree in elementary education. I also have a few endorsements, for one for MTSS, one for English speakers of another language. I also hold a tier 2 leadership degree. Um, I know you all are searching. I hold I hold a tier 2 leadership degree that I would love to utilize. I'm just messing with you.
That is funny. I know. So for what you guys don't realize is Janie would qualify to be the superintendent.
But Larry,
Uh,
can I
yes,
say something?
you can. You
I
can.
actually took a little shortcut and did a little education a little bit myself. I was a long-term sub in Newton County for a while, but education was not my forte, not at the school level. But I knew I always wanted to be in the medical field. So I did do a little bit of education for a short time in Newton County.
So for a little bit of time. So you got your feet wet.
I got my feet wet.
I hear sometimes you get your feet wet and you pull it out, right?
That's right.
Because you don't want the rest of the body to go in there. So that's it. Sandra, I do want to ask you a question, because you mentioned something, I think to me the other day, and I think the folks might find this in something appealing. You mentioned to me that you have a son that's an attorney.
I do have a son.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about your son who's an attorney?
Well, let me say this. He graduated from law school, did everything, something. He told Mama, I don't want to be a real lawyer. What do you mean you don't want to be a real lawyer? So he does like contract work with apartments and rental things. I don't understand the whole ramification, but he's up in New York. So yes. But let me just tell you about all my children. I feel like all my children got a great education here in Rockdale County Public Schools District. I have a daughter who is a mom of two. She is an educator. She tries to get away from, but she's educated down in Jacksonville, Florida. My second son is deceased. Was killed in an automobile accident in 2006. My third son is a stay-at-home dad, and hey, but they do what they have to do. But he has a pre-law degree, but have not completed that. My fourth child is the one that is the law school graduate, and he's in New York. And it's the sad part about it, when I know some people talk about they had a disability. He actually had a speech impediment as well when he was growing up. But if you speak with him now, you wouldn't even know that. And so I can understand when you're trying to make sure your children get what they need. Because even at the beginning, they were like, he needs speech. I'm like, my child don't need speech. But I had to get into that and say, okay, then allow him to have speech. And like I say, but if he would walk up to you now, you would never know that child had that one. And my fourth child works for Fulton County in the IT department.
Well, good that and it's great for everybody to know that we're like everybody else and we have family and kids and stuff. Janie, do you want to tell us a little bit about your family? Brag on your family for a minute.
Sure, I will say. So I do have two sons. Both of them did some of their schooling here in Rockdale County. One is 23, and the other one is 25. And anyone who has adult children, or anyone who is raising adults at home, or children, but you know what? It is what it is. I'm very proud of my youngest son. One of the things that he has decided to do was to, instead of the 4-year college path, I'm going to share this because this is hilarious. Not funny, but funny. I kept forcing him to do the whole 4-year college, and he kept saying, Mom, I do not want to do um, 4 years in college.
You turned your video off, Janie.
I know, and I'm trying not to. But anyway, he kept saying, Mom, I don't want to do the 4 years. And it was right around COVID time, and I forced him to go. And then after maybe a semester or so, he came back. He said, Mom, I don't want to do it. I gave him a semester off, and guess what I did? That parent thing. I made him go right back. And I said, no. And I was honest. I said to him, I said, only thing that I know is you get out of high school, you go 4 years of college, then you go back to college. That's because that's what my parents did with all of us. And I said, if you can come up with a plan, or if you have something else that you're interested in, that's what we'll do. So he called a family meeting. We talked about it. Yeah, we have family meetings.
Well,
Don't
I
laugh
like that.
there.
Well, I like you put him on the spot and challenged him at Janie,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And so basically, what he decided he wanted to do was to do an internship as an electrical engineer and go to school that way. And that is what he is doing. So I'm very proud of him. My oldest son, my stepson, he decided he wanted to join the military. So he does this little weekend military thing. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I think we all, excuse me, we all have, we raise our kids and and the best we can, and then we got to at some point say, okay,
Yeah.
you do what you need to do. And I like I said, and I also had 4 daughters, and 3 of them graduated from Rockdale County schools. So I think what I like about our board and is that investment we have in the community. Janie, you and Sandra both. I just tell you, you can't do anything in this community that you don't run into one of you two having a tent or a booth
That's true.
or peddling something. You know what I mean? Out for the community. I mean, Sandra. Every time I go around, Sandra said,
She
Larry,"
out.
she'll say, "You ain't bought the ticket for this yet." So here
True.
Sandra, I ain't forgot. You know what I mean? So and then then I'll see Janie. I remember there was one of the little festivals we had, and Janie corralled me to help her do some stuff one time. She was with her project that you do, and so she was over there teaching the kids with this. She had this little science thing with these balls that are rolling and all
Hmm.
this everything. So I mean, and these kids were having a great time with it. So when you go out in the community, folks, there is a good chance that you're going to run into Sandra Jackson Lett and Janie Jones
I'm gonna be
doing
there.
something and promoting something. So
Hmm.
that I really like we got board members. They're just part of the community, and you're going to see them out there interacting with everybody, and it's fantastic for the community to be able to just run into board members and elected officials that are just out there being everyday people and just doing things to help promote the county and other causes. So let's get into the meat of the matter here, right?
Mm-mm.
Let's talk about Rockdale County Board of Education and Education. And you two guys are both running for reelection. And we talked a little earlier about what was I going to ask you guys about tonight, and I said I think we talk about the ABCs, and I think you guys were both and say yeah, let's do that, and because I heard the other day when we were at an event, um, you guys talking about the ABCs that the superintendent put into place. And Sandra, would you elaborate a little bit on a couple of those initiatives?
Well, Larry, when we first hired the superintendent, which that is one of our responsibility, and I said to Miss Shirley's Chastis, we have a lot of concerns in our community, and I told that concern was the behavior, the content, the content mastery, the development of our teachers, and engagement in the community. And I know within a matter of time, she came up with ABC, which A is attendance. And attendance, you have to be in school if you expect to learn in order to be able to master that content that's being taught. And behavior is B is behavior. And I always thought about that when that came up because I'm thinking if they're not in school, then they may be doing something crazy. And I didn't allow my children to stay out of school. You're going to school, so you might be having behavior issues if you're sitting at home. So if you're at home, you got behavior issues, then you're not going to get that content mastery. But if we can get all that in lined up with the attendance and behavior, then we can get that content mastery. And I think Janie would be a perfect person to talk about that since she's in the school district.
We were going to get Janie to go to C and D. So Janie, would you
Well,
cover the C and the D?
yes, and so the content mastery. I would like to say this. One of the common misconceptions you always hear people bring up our CCPRI score, and they always say, "Well, the schools are not performing, the children are not learning because of the CCPRI score is low." Did you all know that CCPRI score is not just a makeup of academic performance? Yeah, so there are several components that makes up that CCPRI score. One is content mastery, one is progress, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to share a little bit of each one, okay? So one is content mastery, and that is based on more or less your Georgia milestone scores, right? It measures how well students meet the grade level standards. Another component is progress. It measures the student's growth from year to year. And one may be closing the gaps, which measures whether achievement gaps are shrinking between student groups, and one may be readiness. And this is about future success indicators, and this kind of indicators at different grade levels. So in this one, attendance may come, early literacy readiness may come, At high school, the graduation rates may be a part of that, and so forth. But I wanted to just make sure that people understood that when you see our CCPRI score, it is a composite of several components. It's not just academic performance. So we should not hear anyone say anymore, those kids are not performing because of that CCPRI score. Okay?
Yes, and then now
Does
go
that
on
make
to the
sense?
go. It makes sense.
Okay.
Now go to the D.
Yeah, so the D is the development of our teachers and our staff. And one of the things we know early on is that we in Rockdale that we provide our teachers professional learning, right? How do we know that? Because at one point we were discussing whether or not we were providing them too much. You all remember those conversations, professional learnings. And then there are other methods of development. Remember that teachers participate in not just the professional learning, but also, and I'm trying to remember all this on the top of my head. Um, let's see, we have the ongoing professional learning. They have the job embedded learning, and also the give me one second because I want to make sure I talk about it. Also, the let's come back to that, Larry, because I
Yeah.
want to make
Okay.
sure I kind of share how
So,
we provide our teachers
Sandra, do
learning.
you want to finish it off with the E?
And it is engagement with our families. And, we started
Mhm,
having forums, and I always tell
mhm,
people I'm an open book. If you're looking for Sandra Jackson, just get out in the community because you're gonna find me somewhere. So you can't say that we can't do it. I applaud Shirley for trying to do that. And even the fact that I'm the executive director at Rockdale Emergency Relief, I don't necessarily tell the people that I'm part of the school board, but when they come in, then I'm gonna say, how's school going with you? And it's gonna open up a conversation just from there because I don't want them to feel uncomfortable speaking to someone that they think is important. I'm just an ordinary person. So when they come over there for various things, they open up and they're going to share. So engagement with
mhm,
our community. I applaud our board. We're out there. Our superintendents are doing. We're doing forum and parent academy. It's there, but the
mhm,
parents don't attend, so they can't say that we're not trying to engage with them because we have all sorts of outlets to engage with them. So it's up to them to become engaged. Because as I always told my kids, children, you're my investment. If I
mhm,
don't invest in you, you're just like my bank account. I need to check
mhm.
on you every day. And if I'm not checking on you every day, that's a problem. Especially when the stock market up and down. So I'm like when I tell you, invest in your children, invest in your community, and there's no way that you cannot engage these elected officials. Because I heard someone say that, oh, the elected officials think they're too good to be talked to. No, sir. No,
Mm-mm.
ma'am. Call me. I'm an
I-
open book, and I'm always available.
Well,
And I'm gonna, Larry,
go
I'm gonna
ahead.
echo what Sandra just said because I've even given out my personal phone number,
Yeah.
and I definitely encourage people to call me. And also, like Sandra just said, engage with me. But I want to go back to our development of our teachers. So some of the things that Rockdale does a very good job at, and remember I work in another district, is like I said, the ongoing PL training. We provide new teacher training, instructional team training. Remember, we have our independent learning days. Those are days when our teacher are involved in professional learning days. We also have um, we also have the Real Academy for our leaders. So and then also let's think back to this too, like what Sandra said with the engagement within our surveys. We're asked, teachers are asked, not just teachers, staff is asked whether or not how do they need support, because someone said, I've heard someone say, well, we don't support the teachers, but in those surveys they are asked how can we better support you. And then there are school leaders at the local at the local school level. I mean, they also keep in or communicate with their staff that there is support and they need to just kind of indicate what type of support they need. I want to also chime in on something else. Sandra mentioned about the engagement. Sandra, I want you to tell them how much we think about them as our community. Because remember when we met with the GSBA representative and we were talking about hiring a superintendent, you and I both made a point in saying we want to get our community involved. And we did not stop until she found a way to engage our community with our superintendent search.
And so, with that being said, that superintendent search started April 1st and it goes through May 10th. So we want the community to do their input now. You know how I say now versus later, because after that person has been hired, there's nothing too much that we can do. But we want to know what you all want from this superintendent.
Yeah, and I thought that was a fantastic thing that we did too, was that survey that the community is allowed to fill, because I shared that with a bunch of people, sent it to a lot of people, and I do think we have a lot of people that are filling that survey out. So I that was a great component of hiring this new superintendent, and that was one of the things that I wanted to discuss is the importance, the thing that we are doing is hiring a superintendent is if not the one of the most important things that a school board can do, and how serious that this board takes it, and especially how serious you two have taken this process of hiring this school superintendent. Do you guys want to elaborate any more on that process, and how important you each feel it is as far as this process and getting it right? Sandra, we'll start with you.
And I do. I think it's very important that we have the right person, because I do believe that Superintendent Chester has to start turning our ship, and we want to keep going in that right direction. And as I met with GSBA, which is Georgia School Board Association, instead of using the acronym, because some people may not know what GSBA is, but it stands for Georgia School Board Association. When we met with the young lady there, we explained to her the things that we want. They sent out a survey to us to ask us what is that we was looking for in the superintendent. And as Vice Chair Jones said, I said to them then, but we have got to make sure our community is involved. Because if we need something, I'm always going to go out and ask my community. And as y'all see the man looking over my shoulder, that's my daddy. And when I'm doing things, I'm thinking my daddy is still looking at me, even though he's not here on this earth. But he always tell me, baby girl, do what's right. So that's what I try to do, what's right. So we know the superintendent do not belong just to us. It belongs to our community.
So, Janie, why don't you answer the same question? What the importance of the board picking the right superintendent, and what do you think? How do you see our role in that?
Wow. It's one of the most important decisions a board can make, because think about it. The board, we can't um, interfere with the day-to-day operations of the schools, but who can? The
Yeah.
superintendent. And so the person that we are hiring, he's setting a standard for the work to be done at our local schools. And when I tell you that, I mean, I know we have a lot of qualifications, but for me, more than anything else, someone who is going to act with integrity is critical in this process, right? And then also, I think it's vital that we have someone with some instructional expertise, because remember, you'll be making up that person will be making up the last call or the final call on a lot of things, right? What's equally important is someone who's going to be financial fiscally responsible, someone we can trust with the budget, someone who is going to make sure that when it comes to spending, our spending is going to line up with our needs and not with excessive spending. If that makes sense. Like this is the hiring the superintendent is one of the most critical, crucial um acts that the board will participate in. And I definitely do not take it lightly. I already have my questions ready to go. I mean, being involved and being connected to our community is another critical aspect for me. I mean, I think I'm just getting a little not stressed, but just kind of think about how critical this role is. I mean, I don't even have words for it because I've seen effective and I've seen ineffective. And I've seen how effective can really take a school system to the next level. And I've seen the opposite.
Yeah, I think what I think we are all preparing ourselves for the seriousness of this task we're
It's
getting ready
serious.
to take on, and that's what it is. This is a serious task. It's something we're all going to put our best effort to, and we know the importance of what it means because you're right, Janie and Sandra. You guys have seen the spectrum of what both sides of this superintendent thing looks like, the good, the bad, and the ugly, might we say? And we want to make sure we get it right. Because if we
Yes.
get it right, we don't want to be DeKalb County and Gwinnett County. I'm just going to be honest. Like I'm allowed to say this stuff's my show. So we don't want to be DeKalb and Gwinnett County
I
and
like my
having
school.
4 and 5 superintendents down the road here in the next little bit. And I understand you like that, but we want to
Yeah.
make sure, even though that we want to make sure we excel and do better than our neighbors. That's just what
And,
my goal.
and Larry, you know what? As we're talking about the importance of the role, I always think like this when it comes to children and their education. They don't get a year back.
No,
Does that make but you
no,
think about how important that
no.
is. A student does not get a year back. You know what I mean? Like they keep growing and aging, and if you waste a child's year, they don't get that year back. And
No, they
so
100%. I get it, Jane. I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah,
If
so
if if we make
mm-mm,
mistakes, they pay for it moving forward. We don't get to erase that. That's it's in the,
they
hey,
don't get the
it's
year.
in their permanent record,
Yeah.
right? It's there. It's permanent. I get it. I mean, you know, I want to shift a second here and I want to talk about something else that's very important: budget. So we're in a budget cycle right now where we're
Mm.
doing the budget, and that is extremely important
Yeah.
because you guys mentioned about being fiscally responsible and that superintendent, helping lead that charge. So over the last two budget cycles, I think you guys have seen some change and some belt tightening. So, Sandra, would you like to talk
Mm.
a little bit, first of all, about some of the belt tightening that has taken place under this board the last two budget cycles?
What I
Some
will
of
say
it
that we
not
did,
known and will be known.
right, we did know that everybody was complaining that the central office was top heavy. We glad to know that we have cut our budget within the past two cycles $5.5 million, with no layoffs, no
No furloughs.
firing, no
Yeah.
none of that. We was able to cut it off. With trying to get the right word. We was able to cut the budget, and people was able to maintain their jobs. We do have to understand that there's a lot of things that come down from state that we do not control. I mean, TRS, the insurance, and all that. We do not control those things. So we have to take what they give us, and they don't always fund all the things that they say we need to do. So I have to applaud Superintendent Chester that she has done a great job in her cabinets and her local schools that with cutting things that was not necessary. We do not expect anything with the cuts. We do not expect our children to be hurt because when we're doing that budget, we still have to keep in mind number one thing is our kids, our children. We need to make sure we have things in place to make them successful. What I said in the past, even before Superintendent Chester took over, let's put our money closer to the children.
Mhm.
If they're not close to our
Breaking
children, we need
news.
to figure out how to do something with them. There's no need for them to sit in certain areas. Let's get them to the school so they can take care of our children.
Janie,
And
why don't you give your input on how you
well,
felt the last 2 years with the budget cycle have gone?
so Chairwoman is correct. And one thing I would like to say is that we love all of our staff members because everyone plays a vital role, right? In our children's education and the and our schools. I am happy about the fact that no one lost their jobs, and everyone was given an opportunity to take on another job or another role at a local school. And she is correct. We did charge Superintendent Chesser to cut the budget with the mindset of ensuring that it didn't come at a loss to our children.
Yeah, there was no quality of education
Yeah.
sacrificed because of this. And I do want to answer a question for Miss Garcia. So Miss
Yeah.
Garcia, as Miss Jackson Lett said, through attrition and through job shifting is how that happened. So every year there are at least 200 vacancies at the Rockdale County school system for teachers that people are not going to sign contract and not going to come back. So,
Yeah.
so if you have over 200 positions that you have to fill each year, then you have the ability. Like, let's just say we want to only fill 150 of them. Then that not filling 50 to reduce that budget number is an option if that's how you're going to reduce the budget. No one that wanted a job didn't keep their job. And if we had 200 vacancies, let's say this year, and we only filled 150 of those, that's how we would have been able to cut that budget with personnel dollars and still not lose their job. So
Yeah.
that's how we did that. And then some people retired, and some people, they didn't want to come back. And then, and like I said, in some positions that were eliminated, the people weren't eliminated. The position was eliminated. They were given the opportunity to go elsewhere. I mean, or do another job. So that's how we were able to do that. And when you are a personnel heavy industry like we are, it's easier to do that shifting than it is if you've got fewer employees. So that's how we were able to do that. And they knew that from the beginning. That's how we were going to do it. So guys, I think I agree with you. I think watching the budget process the last 2 years, and not only that, but we were able to do that $5.5 million. But our budget, I would like you guys to talk about the fact that our budget is going to be 1.9% lower this year than last year. It'll be from 231 to 227, and just how that's going to help impact for the taxpayers. Sandra.
And that is true, Larry. Only if the numbers don't come in a different way, we should definitely see a difference in our budget again this year as a decrease from last year. But like I say, we're in our final stage of finalizing that.
Yeah.
So once we get that, then we're definitely low. Don't want to say things that's not true because that man is looking over my shoulder. But I do want to say that, out there, we hear people saying that we have, because with attrition, we hear people saying, well, we have 5 superintendents. 5 assistant superintendents, but it's just a play on names because a lot of these people had positions, and it was just that they got more duties added onto them. So we just gave them a different title, but it's not. And I guarantee you, if you go over to Gwinnett, they probably had the exact same positions, but it's
Different
just
titles.
a different name. So it's just like I say, and they may not be doing as much work as our assistant superintendents are doing. So I just want people to know that sometimes that when people are saying things, it's just a play on names.
Yeah, I think Superintendent Chester explained, because I did ask her in detail about that, and she explained it very well to me. She said, Larry, you've got like a director in Rockdale County, and they may do one thing. So they would be a director. But we've got someone who does, let's say, the job of what we would say 3 directors, right? Their responsibility is 3 would be, if you take their jobs individually, they would be 3 different director positions. So that person, we're giving them the position of assistant superintendent because of the workload they have. And that's the way she explained it to me. And I understood that a lot better once she explained it, that it was more about the workload and how many things that they did. So and that's understandable, because we do see some of the folks that have those titles, assistant superintendent, we know how many hats they wear, right? So they wear multiple hats, and you got to commend them for everything that they do. So we did have a question in here about phones a little bit ago, and I'll let you guys talk about that, because I do know they asked, they think that the phone policy was working that we implemented last year before we had to, as far as the middle school and grade school. And I think they did a survey. And Sandra and Janie, if you guys would want to talk about what that survey said, to the audience.
Well, from when I talk to the teachers, because as y'all know, I wear multiple hats in Rockdale County, serve on a lot of organizations. So I'm in and out of the schools all the time. And even the children say it's great that the phones are not in the classroom. It's not a distraction. The teacher don't have to say, put your phone on. She can actually teach. So I think because our students like it and our teacher love it, I think it's a great thing. And we also need to understand, because people talk, but what if there's an issue? They have a device that they can unlock those phones quickly if they really needed to get to them. So it's not like they're there without a way to get in their phones, getting access to their phone if it was really a dire need.
Yes.
And if there's an emergency, I mean, I asked this too. There is actually a phone in every classroom.
Yes.
There's a landline.
Yeah. So there's a landline, and there's also like a panic button that is in the classroom. And just as chairwoman stated, I was able to speak to some students about it, and she's correct. I had one student to say, high school student, middle school student, say that initially they thought that they were going to miss their cell phone or miss not having it. But once they got used to not having their cell phones, they did not see it as an issue. And one of them even said that people were talking more during lunchtime. They were having more conversations during lunchtime. And I know that our educators love the fact that they don't have to worry about children scrolling during class time, and they would just be able to spend more time being attentive and engaged in the learning process. So far, so good. And then also, Larry, what people don't realize, that with that policy, children who have medical needs, there's a plan in there for kids who have medical needs and need their phones. So it's not a one size fit all.
No, and those provisions we put in, but also when the state passed the law, the state put it in there. You had to make these contingency plans for these kind of things. So that happened, and then I think the state passed the law that policy is going to have to graduate to the next level now. So I think we'll be working on a policy for that as well, and I think what I like is the pilot program we were able to run for the grade school and middle school showed that it can be successfully done. And what I like the part about too, Sandra, Janie, is the fact that these kids in that survey said, yeah, it actually is helping. The kids actually said that it was helping, and that means a lot. Go ahead, Sandra.
I can also give kudos to Rockdale County Public School. We are always ahead of the curve. It only really is supposed to start with July of this year, but we already have those in place. So we're always ahead of the curve, even with this, the detectors. Rockdale County is already ahead of the curve. So when I say we just got to keep good people in place so we can keep that going, because if people don't know that we need to be ahead of the curve, then there's an issue. We need to make sure we're thinking outside the box. When we see issues, we need to start trying to address them then. And then, holy behold, here they come. And we're always ahead of the curve.
Right. So, and then somebody asked in the chat a minute ago when the next Board of Education meeting was.
I'll be more than happy to tell them.
Why don't you let them know our schedule for this month?
Well, the schedule for this month, let me tell you, as I always start every meeting when people ask me about the Board of Education, the second Thursday at 6:00, the third Thursday at 7:00, unless we have a break, and then we will alter it down by 1 week.
Right. So, but this month it will be the 14th and the 21st, and then we got a special event that we're doing this month too, don't we? Everybody, we're doing what happens in the end of May for these kids who have what happened?
Graduation. And let's go ahead and let's put that out there too, because people have asked me, even though there was a survey put out there, because Sandra Jackson said I cannot support it going to Newburgh. Every year I voted against it, but I told them, please do a survey. So when the survey came back, The parents agreed for it to go to Newburgh. So there's nothing else I can say about that. But then I still have parents say, how did the graduation end up at Newburgh? Ma'am, did you do the survey? So if they did not do the survey and if they're not in tune, then they're not going to know what's going on. But a survey was provided. Students and parents was able to answer that survey, and it came back that they voted to go to Newburgh. So that's where graduation will be on May 29th. And I think we start at 8:30 in the morning.
And finish at midnight, right? I'm just
Not
kidding.
midnight.
I was just kidding, guys.
But
It's
yes,
late.
so that we was a
Seems like
and
it.
you let me say this about myself. If there's something that's involving the students, even the teachers, if we're gonna make a change, I always want to hear from those individuals. I want to hear from the teachers for whatever concerns they have, even though I don't do day-to-day operations, but I also want to know what their concerns are. And when it comes to the students, I want to know what your concerns are. As a matter of fact, and I'm gonna mention it right here. I've had students say, can we get them to pull their pants up? Yes, we have a dress policy. So you know what? We just got to start implementing those dress policies. And that's going to be my next challenge. That's my next challenge for the next 4 years. We're going to get that dress policy implemented.
I got you, sister.
Students and teachers.
I hear you. Janie, do you want to add anything on the graduation and the dress policy?
Well, I'll talk about the graduation, and Chairwoman is correct. So one of the things that we did ask for was a survey because we wanted to hear what our students and what our parents were saying about the location.
Mhm.
And one of the things a lot of people cited was concern for the elderly in the heat. That was a concern that kept coming up over and over again. The concern for the elderly in the heat, and then also another concern was parking. And they said that when people come to the graduation, they're parking, they're having to walk a distance to get to the actual football field where the graduation was held. So board woman Jackson Lett is correct. We asked about that survey and we went through the findings of the survey, and we have to act according to what the people wanted.
Well, and I will add too, one of the caveats that I had that I actually said and made it, public, that I wanted to make sure that no tax dollars were spent on it, because
Oh,
we
you
were
didn't
told
pay
we
for
were
it.
we were told that this would be done through dues, and that the parents were going to pay. And Superintendent Chesser advised me last week that the bill has been paid, and the bill was 100% paid through dues by the
Yeah.
students. So the conditions that we put forth, that the survey be done and that it be funded by the dues, was met. So as a board, we asked for this, it was given to us, and since it was in good faith, we said, okay, you did everything we asked for, so you're
Yes.
right, and we have to be people of our word to them, and that's the students and parents. If they're willing to do this, then we have to be willing to back them. Do you agree with that?
And Larry, I don't remember the exact percentage, but it was overwhelmingly the
Yes.
students and the parents, students and the parents wanted the graduation at Newburgh. Like it was, the number was high. And
Yes.
I could not believe, because we had heard so much in the community that, the question about why I have it at Newburgh. But when that survey came back, I was astonished and at the high percentage of people that wanted it at Newburgh.
Yeah, it was. There was. There was no question, right?
Yeah.
It was that high. It was no question, and those survey was accomplished. They paid for it out of their dues, so they met their obligation. And
Yeah.
when people meet their obligation, you have to take your hat off to them, and you have to congratulate them for following through on what they wanted to do. So I was extremely excited that they were able to accomplish that, and good for them, right? And it's going to be their day to celebrate, and I can't wait to be there to be there with them, and for them to celebrate, and it'll be a fantastic day as we watch them graduate. I'm actually the week before I will be going to Effingham County, and I have a grandson graduating down there in Effingham, and he is going to go up to Penn State and play baseball.
All
So,
right, congratulations.
Yeah, so we're all excited about that. So it's that time of year. Guys, I think that people have asked me something, and I'm going to ask you this same question, right? They'll ask me, they say, Larry, what one thing surprised you or is the most difficult part of being a board member that you didn't think was going to be? What surprised you about being a board member? So I'm going to go to Sandra first. Sandra, what's the biggest thing that surprised you about being a board member?
Well, Larry, I guess I must say, because I have been engaged and for such a long time, I'm gonna be transparent, because I want to run for the school board when my children was in school, and they said, "Mom, please not, no, no, no." So I honored their wishes. So I always was engaged in the school board. I always talked to the board members from Johns Hopkins and all those. So I knew what it was going to entail, and I think the only thing that really and not hard about it, and I just think the fact of having to accept that we all have different personalities and we all don't think the same. And I think that was the only thing that really stirred me, because my thing is, at the end of the day, we're concerned about the students. We should be trying to do the exact same thing, but I realize that some people don't play. We don't always think the same, but it's okay to agree to disagree. So I had to adjust to that. But for us, the norm, the working part of the school board, I had been so into it all these years. So when I finally got there, I'm like, okay, it's my time, and I know it's always in timing. And so I'm just glad to be here in this seat and just always fighting for the children, as I did even way back when my children was in school then.
Okay. Janie, same question.
Yes, I know that people probably think that when you join the school board, your only obligations are that second and third Thursday meeting.
There you
But you
go.
have that second Thursday, that third Thursday, special call meetings, discipline hearings, school events that you are not really expecting, but you want to be there to celebrate the children and support the staff, your school community events. And then also, before your meetings, you want to take time to research um the everything that's going to be talked about, so that you know what you're talking about, so that you're not just putting up a vote. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions for someone who does not already come to a board meeting. You're not ready. You're not ready, because it does require more time than what people actually think it does. But guess what? I'm like my board chair. I love what I do. I am committed to this community. I love the fact. I think that early on I knew that I had a call to help children, see children succeed, right? And through that we help all stakeholders. And so I think that's the biggest misconception. You're gonna come meet twice a month. You're not. You're not. It requires so much more. But I'm up for it, because I love Rockdale County, and I love our children, and I love our staff.
I want to put up a comment up here that Keisha Long Conroe put up here, that yes, I remember Sandra fight for our kids way back when, always being grateful for her voice. So, and I like when people make comments like that. I love to throw them up there, because, a lot of people, they recognize the effort put forward. And you're right, both of you, Janie, I knew what the time commitment was going to be, right? So that did not surprise me. I tell everybody whenever they ask me this question, right, is I knew we got sued, but I didn't know as many lawsuits as they was. Right? so now, Janie, it's okay. It's okay. But I say that, right? It's just point blank, right? It's like, I say, I can't even believe this nonsense. And I can't even believe this nonsense all the time. So, but yeah, go ahead.
And so Larry, and another thing is now that Janie brought up everything that we do, and it's a lot of training, guys, because they want to make sure that we're doing what's right. And we have to make sure we get those trainings. And and I tell you all the time, I tell Chuck, we got somewhere to go. I mean, and it's a team effort. You know, he don't know what
Yes.
goes on, but he knows a team effort. I gotta go so and so place, and he's like right there with you. So, but I love my community.
Yes.
Yeah, and we got a little message from Justin on here. He says, "I'm so proud to have served with both of you. Godspeed to you and the whole Board of Education." So, and it was a
Thank you, Justin.
privilege to serve with Justin also, and we thank you, Justin, for that comment for these two, and and their success as they move forward in this campaign. And so, let's talk about the campaign for a minute, and I'll get with both of you. So, Sandra, how do you see this campaign going, and how do you how do you feel about it so far?
Well, Larry, I'm a God-fearing woman. I just trust God in the process. I just want people to know that they need to vote for experience and not just because somebody say they want to do it. You want to see things. The work that has already been done, not someone just trying to come onto the race. Because if you're not attending school board meetings, you're not doing all that. Are you sure you're ready for this? So I'm just running my race. I'm not taking anything lightly. I'm running it like my life depends on, because the life do depend on it. Because we need to make sure we have people in these seats that can support our teachers and our students.
Janie, so the same
Yes.
thing about how do you feel the campaign's going, and what do you see?
Yes. And I'm gonna say it's going. And I can't focus on anything else. Just like when I decided to run during COVID, something in me said, Janie, now is the time. And if you don't move, if you don't if you don't use the gift that God gave you, because my gift that God gave me for society's education, right? And so I utilize that gift to better other people and also to strengthen my community, right? And so for me, that's all I think about. Um, when it's time for me to leave the school board, I will know, but that time is not yet here. And so I give it all that I have, not just for me, because it's really not for me, but it's for our children, it's for our children's future. It's for our community. It's for the future of our community. And so, Larry, like I said, I'm ready. And I said, let's just continue on. And we're going to stay focused. And I want to say to everyone, when I appreciate the support that you all have shown.
Yes.
I appreciate the encouraging words. Thank you to everyone who's come by, because we look, board chair and we're all kind of standing out on West Avenue. So thank you to everyone who's coming by and you're blowing your horns in support. Thank you for that, because that means a lot. That lets us know that we are headed in the right. We're headed the right way, on the right track. But I also like to say, Larry, just like board chair said earlier, our goal is always to be transparent and to be accessible and to make the best decision for our children, our staff, and our community. And at any time, if someone feels um, like we have veered off of that, please let us know. Don't take the social media. Well, you can take the social
Yes.
media, but the best way to get your questions answered or your concerns answered is come to one of us or reach out to the person that could respond to your concern. I say this all the time. It takes all of us. It takes all of us to ensure that we continually have strong schools, so that we can have a strong community, so that we can work together to continually to make Rockdale County a great place to work and live. It takes all of us. So if
It does. It does take
yeah,
all of us. So, I mean, I think that that's what a lot of people are appreciative of, right? I think people do see the efforts that you two put in to the jobs that you do. They see the compassion. They see the care, and I think especially when you guys talk about things that we want to see happen in the future. Sandra, you already brought one thing up. You want to see the dress code looked at a little closer, right? So
Absolutely.
what I like for be sort of our final question, and then we'll wrap it up. What do you think we need to look at closer to help improve the school district moving forward? As a board member, that you think that you'll urge the new superintendent to look at, and that's what we do. And I think, like everybody else, as board members, we have conversations with the superintendent,
Absolutely.
and we urge them to look at things. And if they decide to take it up, they take it up, and they bring it, to the attention of the board. Sandra, what do you think some of the things we need to look at?
And as I said, looking at policy that we have in place to make sure that we're enforcing them. Because I'm gonna tell you, when I did career day over at Shoal Creek, the little guys and the young ladies was dressed up in their little outfits, and I said, "You feel good today?" He said, "Oh yes," and he tucked his shirt and his jacket, and I said, "Why don't you dress like that every day?" He said, "They'll call me a nerd." He said, "But I like the way I'm dressed today." So if you're dressed good, you feel good about yourself. I mean, even at church and different places, if you're dressed, I always say dress for success. So when I step out my house every morning, and if I'm dressed for success, I'm gonna feel good, and I gotta know I'm gonna get things accomplished. But let me just go back to what Joan said at the last question. When I tell you our citizens appreciate us being out there and on the front line for our children, I've had strangers just pass by me. They'll pass by, blow. Next thing I turn when they come with a bottle of water, a chip. You've been out here. I just want you to know I support you. I've already voted for you. So the citizens are looking, and the ones that don't know, we have got to educate them. As I tell people, everybody have a right to run, but we still need to vote for the one that's most qualified.
Exactly. Janie, what do you think we need to look at moving forward to make some changes or improve some things in the district?
Okay. And I'm sure there is more than one thing, but I'm going to say teacher and staff support and retention. And I say that it is critical. I say that because think about this: the longer you have a teacher and a staff member in a building, and think about it, you're pouring into that individual, right? As you're pouring into that individual, what are they doing? They're becoming better at what they do. Who benefits from that?
Exactly.
Who benefits? So I think that's one of the things I would like to. I think that we need to look into making sure that we improve teacher and staff support, and then also engagement. We don't have all the answers, and that's engagement with our students, engagement with our teachers and staff, because teachers play a vital role, but our staff play a vital role too. Our cafeteria workers, our bus drivers, our secretaries, our classified staff, our P and I don't even know how I made it through without our P and I without our P and I support. Like, there are so many people that play such a vital role in us educating our students, and I would say continual engagement, including our community, so that we can continue to improve our practices as a system and also as a board.
I agree with you. And I want to add something about Sandra and what she said about the dressing and stuff. And I guess if most people have watched the board meetings the last year or so, especially with Mr. Kenny being on the board and me, you'll notice that Mr. Kenny and I always wore suits. We always wore suits to every single meeting. And I wanted to do that for a specific, because I've attended the meetings before and watched in the past. Some of the men on the board didn't wear all suits; they would wear a jacket or wear whatever. But I felt that it's important as a male role model for me to dress that way so that the students and the young men in this community see that when you take a position of stature like that you're supposed to dress for that position. And I want to commend you, Sandra, for taking that stance that you've had and saying how proud that little guy was when he had that on. And I want to set that example and show these young folks that when you have a position, you're supposed to dress for that position and show respect to that position by the way you do that. So and I think the former member Kenny and I both looked at that same way, and that's one of the reasons that you will have seen us dressed that way every time. And then you ladies are always, I got to compete. It's like I'm the one guy on the board, and I got to compete with these ladies that always come dressed to the, and I'm like, oh my, it's tough. But you guys look good every single meeting. I do want to commend you for that.
Larry, I would like to add something that's kind of random,
Go ahead.
and it really it's just a So I've heard it said that something about Rockdale County Public Schools lacking career pathways that did not
Oh,
require college. Or yeah, someone, I think I heard someone said something about yeah, Rockdale County Public Schools, or we don't offer career pathways that does not require college, something to that extent. I think Chairwoman heard that as well. But I want to say that Rockdale County, we offer over more than 30 pathways, and all of them do not require a 4 year degree in college. I also want to clear up something else. I heard on the campaign trail that that something about wraparound services kind of being non-existing. But guess what? Rockdale County Public Schools, we offer lots of wraparound services. We have mental health and support counseling. We have behavior intervention programs. We have school academic success programs. We have special education and other related programs. We have family and community support programs. We have enrichment opportunity programs. So Rockdale County Public Schools does have wraparound services. I would just encourage anyone who may have questions about the programs that we offer and the things made available to our students and staff, check out our website. There's a lot of information on our website.
I agree with that. So, guys, we've actually went over the hour, and a lot of people don't realize when they come on the show, what are we going to talk about for an hour? You know what?
Meaning,
Then the next thing you know, the hour is gone, and well, where did the hour go? So the hour has gone. So what we do now is I let each one of you say why you should be the people's choice and why you should be their vote. So, Janie, let's start with you. Let's let you finish this off. Give your final appeal to the voters.
yeah, I'm going to start by saying I love my community and I am invested in my community. And I do that through the gift that God has given me through education, right? So, about 3.5 years ago,
You
did we
there?
lose her?
We lost her. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Sandra, why don't you go ahead and say it, and when she comes back, I'll.
Absolutely. I'm Sandra Jackson, and I just want to let you know what I will deliver is strong leadership through hiring and evaluating the superintendent, clear, effective policies that support students and staff, transparency, a focus, academic vision that drives student success, open communication as a trusted liaison between the district and the community. You will always find me out in the community because I'm going to be transparent, accountable. I have experience and I'm going to be persistent because, as I can say, no, we do not do the day to day operation. But if you have a concern, you're going to bring it to me and I'm going to take it to my one employee and going to tell her I need an answer so I can provide it to my constituent. So I would love to have your votes. If you know people that have not voted, please tell them to vote for Sandra Jackson Lett so we continue the work that we have started at Rockdale County Public School Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. And I just wanted to say, guys, I went and voted the other day, and I'm gonna let y'all guys know a secret who I voted for. I voted for Sandra Jackson Lett, and I voted for Janie Jones. And on the show, I do endorsements upon a time. So I want everybody to know that I endorse Sandra Jackson Lett and Janie Jones because I want them to continue the positions that they are in because it is vital that we keep strong leadership on the Rockdale County Board of Education, especially at this pivotal time, because the board is making strides, moving forward and improving things. And it's not time to change the direction. it's time to keep the direction. So I just ask you guys to think about that. And Sandra, it's been an honor to have you. Janie, her phone might have died or something like that, and that'll happen sometimes with that, or and we did have a couple of glitches during the show. Thinking about doing live shows, right? It's live and you have glitches. But I think this was a great show. It was a great opportunity for you, the viewers, to get to hear Sandra and Janie talk about the school board and interact with them. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for showing up tonight and listening to this interview. And I encourage each and every one of you to share, like this show. Let's get this broadcast out there. And when you go to the polls, don't go alone. Take a friend. Take a friend to vote. So let's make this an election to remember by putting Sandra Jackson-Lett and Janie Jones back in office where they belong. So Sandra, if you want to hang on, don't click off. We'll have a chat after the show. I want to thank everybody for joining me for tonight's show. And if you see the clicker below, so next Sunday we will have Judge Nancy Beals on the show, running for Superior Court. Monday we will have Heavenly Kimes running for the 13th Congressional District on the 4th. And then on the 6th, we've added 2 shows. We've added Attorney General candidate Brian Strickland and Board of Commission Post 2 candidate Doreen Williams will be on the show. So we've got 4 shows next week, folks. We've got one Sunday, one Monday, and then a back-to-back show on Wednesday, one at 8 and one at 9. So as this election cycle heats up, we got more people wanting to come on the show. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to click out of here tonight, and we'll see you guys at the poll.